I, somehow, I think that I need to have a Darth Vader sound effect. You got to do the Darth Vader voice. Nah, nah. James Earl Jones and Industrial Light and Magic did a much better job. So, all right,
Well, I'm not thinking Star Wars at all. I'm thinking zombie apocalypse.
zombie apocalypse. Are you going to
Every,
start going to Walmart like that or what?
look, even Bossier City's preparing. I mean, you've seen the vehicle. I showed it to you. What's it going to take to make you believe it?
Okay. Well, we need to do our 2 minute countdown and kind of get ourselves organized a little here and, do that sort of thing. All right. So we got about 10 folks watching. Folks, y'all know the drill. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes with a countdown. We have a lot to talk about, including apparently Duke and his face mask. He's trying to be really extra super safe, and Robert Barry's letter of resignation. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. Did you say something about a deficit?
Boy, I am fighting all kinds of things tonight.
Are the tech gremlins getting a hold of you?
They are, and it all started when I switched over to this Mac. But
Now, wait a minute. That Mac didn't cause your liquid part of your LCD display to start pouring out.
yeah, you're probably right on that account. But
Hey,
anyway,
you do have a clean video feed coming in tonight. That is a bonus.
finally,
Yes. And I've got a few gremlins too. Apparently, my older iPad doesn't want to show me our show notes right now, so I'm having to kind of wing it. Hey, we'll figure it out and sort it out. Okay. So we got about 32 people watching right now. That's pretty good. We want to welcome everybody to, obviously, this is Bossier Watch, as the logo up there over here says. I'm Rex Moncrief, Duke Lowry. If you don't already notice, we do what we call citizen journalism mixed in with our punditry and definitely our opinions.
not opinions, not us.
No, neither of us are opinionated. I,
No,
I, I carry my soapbox strapped across me like a backpack.
no, 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 no. So, if you watch the 2 minute countdown, you notice something. I'm prepared. You know, Scout motto is be prepared. I'm prepared. I don't know about you, but I'm prepared.
Oh, well, yeah, that little minute or so we shared before the countdown. So, what are you like trying out for the Walking Dead season
Well,
4000 or whatever? What's up?
well, I mean, look, last show, I mean, when we went to the school board meeting, and everybody, I mean, and it ain't just the school board meeting, but everybody is losing their minds over masks and vaccines and all this stuff or whatever. And I said, well, I mean, I might need to tighten up a little bit. So I kind of took a walk down memory lane. And the very first thing that, when we're talking about, everything's coming apart, society's about to fail, whatever, I mean, you got to prioritize things, right?
Well, yeah,
And
yeah.
so, I mean, the first place I went to was Sam's. That's
Really?
the very first place. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
And,
And
you
what did
know,
you discover at Sam's?
well, what I went to get wasn't there.
Oh,
Apparently everybody else done beat me to the punch. They done raided all the damn toilet paper, Rex.
I thought you were
Again.
showing us that they have a couple of pallets of Bounty. This sounds like a commercial. Bounty paper towels. That's not what you were looking for?
No, I was going to get me some Charmin, and dadgum, it's all gone. They done cleaned it out.
People are hoarding toilet paper again.
I mean, just they even talk about mandating everybody wear masks, and the first thing everybody does is go get all the toilet paper. What kind of bizarro world are we living in?
I don't know. And Senator Robert Mills is on the show and commenting, says, glad to be back and getting caught up. Okay, Senator Mills, this is a real, legitimate problem here. Sam's is out of toilet paper again. We've got to
I
do
mean,
something about this. We can't have it like last year.
and I'm gonna tell you, this time of year, as hot as it is out there, the leaves are crisp. I mean, I just don't think we're gonna get good adhesion.
Hey, they've got plenty of Bounty. You could use the Bounty.
I mean, this is gonna be raw. But so anyway, I go to try to get some toilet paper, right? And
Mm-hmm.
well, they're out. So
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, all right, well, so I'm gonna have to tough it out on that front. Well, the
Right.
next best thing is you know what? I'm gonna have to find me a mask. So I went on this search. I went out looking for masks, and lo and
Mm-hmm.
behold, everywhere I went, oh, they had masks, but
Right.
none of them were masks that supposedly are going to get the job done. And
Really?
yep, Sam's didn't have any masks. So then what always at Walmart, never at Sam's, they say. So I went to
Mm-hmm.
Walmart,
Oh, God
and
help you.
from cut 2 to 27, you can just scroll right through them.
Well, let's do a little
And
bit of that. So there's that one. Let me sort this out here because, of course, I am not completely organized. Let's see. Let's drop that one in there. Okay, there's some reusable masks. So I've got this cut out, but everybody can see the screen.
walk in the
Uh,
door, and they got a big, huge box right there. But that's for kids.
well, hey, it's ages 4 to 12. We got all these kids going back to school. It's 3-layer construction with a stretchable elastic ear loop. That's got to be good.
And I figure, well, hey, look, I'm 50 something. I might
Right.
be able to make one of them work. So
Yeah.
grab down in the grab bag, and I'm
Right.
looking for one that may fit the bill, right?
Yeah.
There's the front side of it.
What is, let me
And I'm
see
looking,
here. Okay. Yep. Oh, it's a 3-pack for only $3.97.
what a deal.
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. What does that say right there in the kind of upper corner right there? Not intended for medical use. What?
Oh, how about that?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but boy,
So
right
is
there.
is this telling me that maybe I could use this to go ride a four-wheeler to keep the, we used to go ride up in Arkansas and all that. Maybe this will help keep the dust off, maybe.
Yep. Well, we got a bunch of these, so keep right on rolling
Oh
through
man.
them.
All right. So I'm going to keep dragging and dropping here, folks. Y'all bear with me. I'm going to drag them in, zoom them back out a little bit. Okay, here we go. This one, multi-layer construction, stretchable, washable, reusable. What's the good or the bad or the ugly about this one? Oh,
Made in
wait.
China.
Well, made in China.
baby.
Hey, they've got the most experience with the virus. Either they raised the bats or they had it in the lab, whatever, whichever way you want to believe, folks. But they got the most experience. But here, I'm looking at this bold lettering. Says this face mask is not a medical surgical mask. Shouldn't be used in a setting where significant exposure to bodily fluids or other hazardous fluids are expected to present. Infection risk level through inhalation is high. Infection risk level through inhalation is high.
Yep. Keep on rolling through them. So then we go to the next one.
All right, let me keep dragging and dropping here. Oh, patriotic. That's got to work.
That's got to work. That's American flag right there, baby.
Yeah, it even wicks away moisture to keep you cooler. And while we're rolling through these, let me let everybody know that we have plenty to talk about tonight. We're, of course, on the Unmasking Our Children subject here, and then we got some updates on the recall, and we have some Linton Bridge boom updates. Yes, folks, we're going to discuss Robert Barry's resignation as executive director of the Cypress Park.
Well, the moral of the story on all these, because like you said, I end up putting, I think, 27 different images of all of these different masks between Walmart, CVS, Home Depot, Academy, God knows where all I went. I went everywhere, and I just started taking pictures of every kind of mask that you could even potentially get.
Right. Hey, that one's got the directions on it. That's helpful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I see people wearing this all the time and everywhere in stores. You know, even the mask Nazis are wearing these. But the last show, as you know, we were kind of getting beat up a little bit.
Wait a minute. I thought this one said for medical use. I'm sorry, Duke. This one says non-medical too.
Yep.
I don't know if I can stack all these in here. So we were getting beat up the last show.
Yeah, we were getting beat up. In fact, we were getting called out, you know, kind of a little bit for what we were saying about the mask. But I said, well, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe I need to go get a mask. Maybe I need to, you know, think about my fellow man and be considerate.
Right.
So I went actually trying to find a mask that would be considerate.
Yeah.
And well, it proved to be difficult.
Well, and look, this one's a likely candidate here. Look at this one. It says for use in normal environments to help block droplets. I can't read what that other word is from the user's mouth or nose by providing a tight seal around the mouth, nose, and jaw. But again, key phrase there being tight seal. Okay. So yeah, there's like 20 of these. I don't think I can stack these all, and then I'll be sitting here unstacking them all night. So what is the takeaway from all of this?
So the end result, unless you go to a medical supply store, you're not going to get a mask that will even get you close to where you need to be. An N95 mask, if you want to get one, you better go to Home Depot or possibly Lowe's. I didn't check Lowe's, but you better go there because they're the only place that had any masks that even come close to where you need to be. And that's not conceding that does the trick. And
well, wait a minute. Now, we were told last year that the healthcare workers had to have those masks and be the priority. So now you're telling everybody to go hoard the N95 masks?
I'm not saying that at all.
Okay.
In fact, we got challenged in the last show. Show your science. What are you referencing? What are you pointing out to take the position that you're taking on these masks? Point it out. And so this show, we're doing exactly that. And we hate to spend a ton of time on this, but as your shirt says, debate.
I will tell you where you're wrong. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
It is a fair question to say what science are you looking at? Where are you getting information?
Sure.
One of our viewers said that.
Right.
It's fair. It's legitimate.
It's a legit question. I'd be able to back your stuff up and not with Billy Bob's conspiracy website either.
That's right. So I guess to start this thing off, we need to get a baseline. We need, cut 28. We need to develop a baseline what kind of particles? What are we talking about here? What is COVID? What particle range? What size is it? Well, it's 0.1 microns or less.
Okay, 0.1, correct?
0.1
As in
micron.
1/10 of a micron, right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
math. And I went to Halton, and so that was a different math. But
All right.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
it's
you're
a
right.
tenth of a micron. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, moving forward. So it's a small particle.
Yeah. So cut 28 has a really interesting image, and I don't even remember exactly where I found this image, and I don't know if you can blow it up enough to where
A
everybody
little
can.
bit. It's starting to get a little fuzzy, but somewhere right in there.
So all these debates are going on, and people talking about masks and what'll filter what and this and that or what have you. And if you see right there, I mean, COVID is a virus, right? And of
Correct.
course, we're not doctors and we're not microbiologists, and we may be Rhodes Scholars of Stupidville, but we do get out of the office every now and then.
Yeah,
But
every once in a while.
COVID is a virus, and you
Yes.
see right there to the right, kind of the blue line where it says viruses and
Okay.
0.1 to 0.01.
Mm-hmm.
You also see bacteria kind of right up there around the 1 mark, but look right below that, smog.
Right.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
From 10 microns all the way down to 0.01 microns.
Right.
Now remember that one about the smog. That's what I want you to remember.
Okay.
And
Remember smog, folks.
Remember smog and remember the 0.1. Now, cut 29, I'm not 100% sure why I put cut 29 in.
Okay. Well, let's take a look and see what that is. Oh, yeah, I think this will be good.
And after this show, everywhere we provide we're going to provide the links to the studies and to the science, so that we're not just making this crap up. I mean, we actually have looked this up. This has been in peer-reviewed scientific studies, and you can look them up yourself, and you can go to the links and do it yourself.
Right.
But in the top one, that is somebody sneezing, no mask, and it breaks up. And this was a image out of one of these studies, and they made this, and they showed the differences between sneezing, coughing, and just regular respiration, exhaling. And it shows the difference in the distance at which the particles travel. And as you can see, the white, kind of the top, and then you see the heavier, bigger, dark blues. The way they had that broke down was in larger micron, like let's say 1 to 10 micron. The white air molecules or whatever were your submicron, particles.
Smaller particles, really small.
Yeah, the much smaller. And the distance in meters that they would travel. It's kind of, as you could see, maybe the furthest distance that you could see on the person sneezing.
Yeah, full-blown sneeze.
Yeah,
full power.
6 meters.
Yeah.
6 meters.
All right.
Coughing, what would you guess? 3 meters?
Yeah, about 3 meters looks like. 3.5, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Those are the submicron.
Right. The little bitty ones, folks.
The little bitty teeny tiny ones. And then go down a little bit lower to the just the regular exhaling one.
Yeah. Just regular breathing. Regular talking.
Right at 1 meter, right? So that's the travel unrestrained of your submicron particles.
Okay.
So go to the next link.
All right, that will be cut 30. Cut 30.
I don't think I'm ready for cut 30 yet.
Okay, that's that. Okay, I got you. Give me just a second here, and I will get it pulled up, I think. Let's see here. Takes me just a second to do the links. Let's go to... All right, so keep talking. Let me get this pulled up here.
So in this study, what these folks said And what they determined was that there was a link because COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
this is the National Library of Medicine, and I can't read that technical description of who they are underneath there, but
Right.
they compile all of these studies. And underneath there, they said that there is a link to COVID 19 potentially traveling on pollution, smog in the air.
Oh, so not necessarily just exhaling water vapor from somebody speaking. They could potentially ride on other particles in the air.
That's right. I mean, originally, and in this study, it kind of says that it's not necessarily a moisture or, exhalate moisture when you exhale, like in the winter when it's
Mm-hmm.
cold, you got moisture like flowing out of your body.
Right.
But in this study, they made the link that COVID can attach to a solid particle. Well,
Mm-hmm.
a solid particle can also be submicron.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're not wearing masks that will get you down below the submicron level, you know, you're kind of not doing any good. So,
Well, and
here's
let me throw this out there. And first, I want to throw out some hellos to Barry Butler, Renee Hall, Corcenter, Robert Mills. Henry Cantrell is watching too, by the way. Mike Cummings Jr., Eric Hamilton's on, Julie Ferris, Pat Benjamin, thanks for the question, and Danny Russell. Okay, so let me throw this out there, folks. We're not telling you don't wear a mask. Kind of like my story I told, I think it was last show or whatever, about the Japanese folks that I was escorting to the airport in the Suburban, and they had on masks. If you want to wear a mask, go right ahead.
absolutely.
But know the facts and know the truth that while the masks arguably aren't necessarily going to hurt you, if you, especially if you're wearing the cloth and you wash them regularly and take care of them, which is recommended, by the way. But know the difference in the particles. The math doesn't lie. And so unless you go to N95, or similar mask respirators like that, your protection is marginal at best. Does that be fair to say, Duke?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
and the thing is, you know, people on the pro mask side are saying that the people who don't want a mask, you're idiots. The science doesn't back up what you're saying. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And it's this back and forth thing. And I mean, how many more studies do I have right here that we can go through? I
A
got a bunch.
lot. Yeah. And we're not going through all of them, but we will post the links as promised.
And let me I'm going to speed through those real quick so we can get to
Sure.
past this and some good content. But quote, exhaled droplets from human subjects performing, well, tech issues again. Me 4 respiratory actions, mouth breathing, nose breathing, coughing, talking, were measured by both an optical particle counter and an analytical transmission electron microscope. The OPC indicated a preponderance of particles less than 1 micron. Although larger particles were found, measurements with the AEM confirmed the existence of larger sized particles in the exhaled breath. In general, coughing produced the largest droplets concentrations and nose breathing the least, although considerable inter-subject variability was observed. So basically, if you go into Walmart and when you walk in the door, if somebody's in there hacking their guts up, you know what? You don't need to be in there or be around them. But if
Yeah.
they're just breathing, it's submicron.
Right.
Submicron. That's one study.
Right.
And they didn't just use their eyes to look at this because you can't.
Right.
They use, what did they call it? An optical particle counter. Okay.
Yeah. Nobody has those in their back pocket usually.
The next study, this one, distance traveling study. Like they were studying how far these air molecules and stuff can float or go
Mm-hmm.
or weigh or what have you. Quote, practical implications. Our study reveals that for respiratory exhalation flows, the sizes of the largest droplets that would totally evaporate before falling 2 meters away are between 60 and 100 micron, and these expelled large droplets are carried more than 6 meters away by exhaled air at a velocity of 50 meters a second sneezing. That's if you're sneezing. Obviously, if
Right.
somebody's sneezing,
With
they're hurling it
force.
out there.
Yeah, with force.
More than 2 meters away at a velocity of 10 meters per second if they were coughing. So coughing is less.
Right.
And less than 1 meters away at a velocity of 1 meter per second just breathing. So
Right.
worst case, 1 meter.
Yeah. Well,
These findings are useful for development of effective engineering control methods for infectious disease and are also exploring basic. There is a need to examine the air distribution systems further.
right. Okay. So the point is, again, if you want to wear the mask, look, my rule is I wear a mask if I'm going to somebody's business or home to help them with their tech stuff. And they want me to wear a mask to come into their private establishment, fix their tech stuff, and get paid. If it's going to come between me and getting paid so I can pay my electric bill and feed the family, I'll wear the mask. It's not that big a deal. But generally speaking, I know and have read up, just like you've shown here, a lot of the science behind it. And so, much like the vaccine, the mask or wearing a mask, unless you do it the right way, which is double or triple layering it, surgical mask with a cloth over it, or an N95, etc., is, I'll say, marginal protection, which is better than none, but not as much as everybody seems to think. And all these cute little cloth masks that are nothing more than heavy t-shirt material with logos on them and embroidery on them, they look cute, but when you've got gaps in the side of them, folks, or you pull it down below your nose, that's not helping if you're infected and potentially transmitting the virus, or if somebody else is and they're doing the same thing and you're breathing it in. The air is going to come in the side, folks. Anyway, so I'm off my soapbox.
One of the other studies, and got plenty.
Yeah.
Quote, therefore, the use of a mask does not provide complete protection and social distancing remains important during a pandemic. That was in the mask cough distribution images study. And it just goes on and on. Here's another one. Medical masks, surgical masks, and even N95 masks could not completely block the transmission of the virus droplets aerosol even when sealed.
All right. So, folks, we're going to share all these links out. Go read to your heart's content. Heather, we appreciate you coming back to watch again as well. Watch this show too. And so after the show's over, I will get all these posted, and folks, y'all can go do research here and whatever. So
have at it. There is plenty to read there.
yes, there is. Okay. All right. What is next on our list?
I think we're going to have to drop down to your half of the notes where you started, because mine is pretty boring.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, and so this kind of ties into this. And folks, again, if you're just now joining the last few minutes or whatever, we're talking about the mask situation, and specifically because there is a huge issue going on with the local school system here in Bossier and many other parishes about unmasking the children, as the movement is called. And so that's why we're tying this in. It's kind of a spinoff from last week. So anyway, let me go to cut 50 here. Hold on, let me get this pulled up here. Oh, I gotta find it. Let's see here. Yeah, and to show you how popular this is a post in one of the local Benton Town Happenings Facebook group. Somebody shared in some information about another private Facebook group that has nearly 8,000 members. And this one post got 219 comments just in the Benton Facebook group. And so that tells you right there that there are a lot of people who have an interest in this as it relates to sending the kids back to school and whether they're going to be required to wear a mask or not. As a matter of fact, go ahead.
Here's the thing, Rex. Go out right now, and I challenge anybody, go out to Walmart and look at everybody's masks that they're wearing. I would bet my wallet 90 probably 95+% of them, none of them will filter anything past probably even 10 microns.
Right.
I'd be willing to bet my wallet on that. They're not.
Yeah.
And so all this, we all got to wear these masks and these cloth things. I mean, we ain't filtering crap. You're not stopping anything. So
Right.
why are we really doing it?
Right. Well, let me tell you, let me get over here to this video here. So let's see. Let me hit publish and let me pause her for a second. Okay.
Happy Saturday. This is the
Why are you not pausing? There we go. Okay. So let me get this turned up a little bit here. This girl has a video posted on YouTube. It's unlisted, but it was shared in one of the unmasked groups and all that. And I thought it was kind of interesting. And she's basically, well, let me just let her speak for herself. So, folks, y'all listen up for a few minutes.
call to action on the mask mandates in Louisiana. Let me just preface this by saying, if you are not willing to put in the legwork to fight, then shut up. And I say that with all the love in the world. Put up or shut up. All right?
What up? Shut
I
up.
love it.
Actually, I do too. Look, whether you agree with the kids being required to wear a mask or not, she has a good point, and that applies to most things when you're dealing with the government. Look, I'm as much about social media as anybody else in Facebook, and that it's a great mechanism to get the word out. But at some point, you gotta go to the meetings and write stuff down and send letters in and do all those sort of things. So let me also share. Let's see. Let me get back over here. Give me just a second here. Let's go back over this way. And let me share out. I didn't know it, but apparently, all we need to do, Duke, the heck with these requests, the heck with being nice, all we need to do is get affidavits set up, have them notarized, and quote the Louisiana Constitution, and we can get our government officials to do anything we want, because if they don't agree with it, then they must be against the Louisiana Constitution, and I would assume, by extension, the U.S. Constitution, too, for that matter. And so they need to get out of office. That's basically what this says. And so we're not going to spend very much time on this, but there are a couple of good points here. Let me say.
So what you're telling me is that if somebody would have just had some document that said that a Democrat can't qualify as a Republican days before, then a judge is going to rule in their
Only
favor?
if you can quote the state constitution. So let me show you. See right here, I have it highlighted. They quoted part of the state constitution of 74, and the government is to be regulated by the people, and as trustees and servants, it is, highlighted in yellow, your duty to carry out the wishes of the people, who granted authority for you to handle the people's business. And please notice down at the bottom here, might be a little hard to see, so of course I'm going to read it. Please notice that the emergency powers awarded by the people to the governor of Louisiana in times of public emergency do not include, highlighted in yellow, do not include powers override the Louisiana Constitution. And, hold on. Did you know that there's a Louisiana Children's Code?
Well, it looks like you're fixing to tell me about it.
I honestly didn't. Shame on me. I need to go read this. And Heather Michelle, as a counterpoint, says the Louisiana, Heather Michelle Turner says, Louisiana Constitution states that the governor has the right to issue a mandate in a declared emergency. And yeah, that is true, but according to this affidavit, in addition to any other powers conferred upon the governor by law, he may do one or other or all of the following. This can, according to RS 29724, suspend the provisions of any regulatory statute. But I got to say, Heather, it doesn't say anything about suspending anything in the Constitution. So maybe they got a little point here. Anyway, I could go on and on with this, but who knew that all we had to do was get a notarized signed affidavit, send it to our elected officials.
I was discussing this with somebody else today, Rex, and they said, but hey, this has already been to court, not once, but twice,
right?
maybe even 3 times.
Well,
And
remember which part of our local Louisiana delegation was going to stop the governor last year when all this happened, and they fell flat on their face as usual.
I was fixing to say something that was going to get us in a lot of trouble.
Okay.
And I was thinking about Bossier City and Bossier City politics.
Yeah. Okay. But wait a minute. So I want to go back. Let me go to the bottom of this. This is great, and then we'll get off of here. Okay. So let me find. Oh crap! I just got rid of it. Hold on, folks. Technical difficulties. Page 2. Okay. All right. It says down here at the bottom. I know it's hard to read, folks. So this affidavit is a contract, and if you shall ignore this affidavit by not responding by the terms, you agree to willfully acting against the express written will of the people and shall vacate your position as an elected official immediately. Last paragraph down there. This is outstanding.
We need to use this for the Cypress District and the Bossier City Council.
That's how we get rid of the good old boys. Who knew it was this easy?
I mean, dadgummit. If this is all we had to do.
If they sign it, they admit we're right. If they don't sign it, then they have to resign their position. It's genius, I'm telling you.
We just need to kill a few trees.
Yeah. See, look right here. Last little deal in yellow. I have failure to respond means that by acquiescence, you agree that all claims are true. So, no matter which way you go, we win. This is all we need, if I'm just telling.
Jack McFarland's jumping up and down south of here saying, yeah, let's cut some more trees, baby.
Yeah, no kidding. All right. So, that's pretty much my soapbox on the unmasking our children deal. I'm not making light of any of that because, look, at that school board meeting, you were there. There were some very upset and passionate parents and folks there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, the truth of the matter is look, I mean, if you want to wear a mask, you should wear a mask. And if it makes you feel good, you should. But let's not make people or give people this idea that these masks are going to prevent them from getting COVID. It's not, unless you have a mask that, can, put you in a self-contained environment, to where you're not having to, I mean, look, even all these masks, one of those studies there shows, the difference in how much space between the outsides of the mask that you can get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I err on the side of this is more about control than it is anything. I had a little video that I put in our notes that you may want to play about now. And somebody messaged me from our last show and said, why y'all always knocking on Q? Why y'all always knocking on Q? Why y'all beating up on Q? And I said to them, well, primarily it's so that I can get a rise out of Rex. Yeah. That's why I do it.
Well, I'll be glad to play the video. Where's the video at in the notes, Duke? Help me out here.
It wasn't in the notes. It was on the files kind of towards the end. And it was the one that you shared. I think you put it at the top of the files.
Oh, the flight.
Yeah, because some people say everybody crying about the mask, they're just crying about something that doesn't exist. Or
yeah, okay, and we joke about black helicopters and all that. So hold on, let me get this queued up here. You're right. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Okay, folks, if you ever doubted that black helicopters don't exist, here you go. This was Caddo Lake. Next time I go fishing, that's how I want to follow the boat roads.
You ain't kidding.
I mean, I love riding around in my boat, but that's the way to do that.
That freaking dude was at the damn channel marker buoy level.
He wasn't far from it. The funny thing is, somebody mentioned in one of the Cattle Lake groups, did anybody see the helicopter? And, oh, no, there wasn't any helicopter, and you're crazy. Somebody shared a screenshot, and they're like, that's photoshopped and all that, till somebody went and got the video and shared the video in there. Very interesting. Legit. Yeah, that's legit. Yeah, so the black helicopters do exist. He might have been headed our way. Who knows? All right. So we're at 78 people. So I want to make sure and let everybody know, we both do, that we appreciate everybody watching. We love seeing the comments in there. Y'all feel free to comment away. We got some more to talk about because, Duke, did you get any phone calls or text messages today about the show?
I did. In fact, I got so dadgum many, I had to call you and say, Rex, did somebody? Well, no, maybe we're not there yet. But I had to
Yeah,
ask you and say,
yeah.
wait a minute, what's going on? My
No.
phone's blowing.
All right, so let me just say, folks, we're getting, we're going through our little checklist here, but I did not make a mistake when I posted that earlier for the show. So we're getting to that. Okay, let's move on to the next thing, the recall effort against Bubba Don Williams. And let me just state for the record that, you know, I'm not 100% behind this recall. I appreciate that folks are using what is their, let's just say, legal and civic right to do if they feel like somebody in office is not treating the constituents and the voting public fairly and the taxpayers fairly. So from that perspective, I've got a lot of interest in this. But there is a recall effort going for Bubba Don Williams, District 3 Bossier City Councilman. And as I shared last week, I was at the meeting right before you at the school board meeting, and they are serious. They actually have yard signs. So you can just search that on Facebook and you can find those. Any questions?
It, I know Bubba Don. I've known Bubba Don for a long time, and
All right.
I will tell you, there was a time in my life when Bubba Don he stood up and he was he kind of stood up for me in a little bit of a way. I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
But the thing is, you're right. The people have the right to recall him, and this is politics.
All right.
Bubba Don has made a decision to choose which side he's going to stand on, and it's in opposition to a group that wants to see, or a block of folks from Bossier that want to see change. And
Mm-hmm.
Bubba Don took a side, and he didn't take the side with that block of people. So you're right; they have every right to go after him and do what they want to do. I
Well,
think there's an overriding message here. I think it goes beyond the Bossier City race. I think that we're seeing. I mean, you see it across the police jury. You see it across the nation. People are wanting change in their government, and they're not wanting the same old rubber stamp. And Bobaton may end up being the first casualty of this.
he very well may. Michael Ferris just posted, commented here, Bubba Don no longer stands for the voters. It's tragic, especially in South Bossier. And again, as I shared from just attending that meeting, just watching, I pretty much didn't get on my soapbox except to let the recall group know that, per the law, once the first signature is on those forms, then it becomes public record and subject to public information requests. And I did reach out to Jeff. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Jeff Copen? Hope I'm saying your name right, Jeff. I met you the other evening. He is the chairman on record of this recall effort. He's agreed to do a live interview on one of the upcoming shows. He said today that, and I didn't do an information request yet, but he said today, haven't counted the actual number of signatures yet, but we have, quote, many pages full of signatures, and I can tell you there are about 15 lines per page, and you're required to copy those pages as you get signatures and the information. So, sounds like they're moving forward. I fully expect the other side, which is generally going to be the good old boy side, I fully expect them to not take this lightly. Yes, they're going to.
Retaliate.
Yes, it's on its way, and this is the war we were talking about, folks. It's literally a North versus South issue in Bossier. As a matter of fact, that's how it was portrayed to me.
Well, I hear. I mean, you get private messages, and I get private messages, and I hear a lot of people saying, no, this isn't a North versus South, because you're assuming there's a lot of people in the North that don't support what the people in the South are proposing.
Well, good point. So let me rephrase that. I'm saying it's a north-south issue based on how it was portrayed to me from the north in a meeting.
Well,
Okay.
well, as we say, the truth is somewhere in the middle. We say that a
Right.
lot, and I'm wondering if this battle that we're seeing, are we going to end up seeing which is true? Because if they're successful on this Bubba Don thing, they're going to move on beyond that. They're going to
Right.
move on to David Montgomery.
This will
And
this will be the first shot across the bow, and if they're successful and it hits, then they've damaged that ship, and that makes it more susceptible. Senator Robert Mills asked who can sign the petition, just that district in Bossier City. I believe that is correct. The Secretary of State's office really controls all that, but I believe it is only folks in that district, all right? And they have to sign it, and then that is verified by the local registrar of voters office, working with, I believe, the tax assessor's office to, make sure the addresses and all that. And then that goes on to the Secretary of State's office if it's successful and there's enough signatures. And that has to go on, the candidate or the official is then notified of it. Then the governor's office has to set a proclamation to set the election, and then there's an election, yes or no, to actually recall the person. So this is the first, but obviously major step.
now, off camera, you and I were talking earlier that we needed to create a Pareto chart, and
Yes.
we needed to, draw lines between, the connections of this and that and this and that or what have you. And you know, I find it interesting because I suspect the and we're framing it as North versus South.
Right.
I'm wondering, do you think the North is going to come at the South with a recall of their own?
Well, if I were helping the North, that's probably what I would recommend. If we're going to trade
But
blows, we're going to trade blows.
well, yeah, mano a mano. But I'm just wondering, can it be successful? I
Well, it
don't
depends
know.
on who they can't try to recall Shane, so that leaves only two of the three amigos left. That'd either be Tommy or Chris Smith.
Well,
And that might
but
be a tall order to do too, even taller than Bubba Don.
yeah, well, the bigger you get, the taller it gets. But
And Michael Ferris commented, said, not North versus South, definitely good old boys versus change makers. I would actually tend to agree with that. And again, that's why I'm covering this, and Duke, we're paying attention to it, is because it's a lot of people, and they're not happy. And you can look at the numbers at the spring election, and it's quite obvious. So anyway.
so I'm looking down through our notes,
Mhm.
and I understand that there's a lot of yard signs going up in South Bossier.
Yeah.
It was all of a sudden, there was one sided, but now all of a sudden it completely flipped to the other side.
Really?
Did you know
Oh,
that?
those yard signs.
Did you know that?
I have heard something about that. So enlighten us a little bit, dude.
Well, apparently, the yard sign war in South Bossier in the city council race was one sided. It was all Brian Hammonds. He was the only
Mm-hmm.
one that had signs up.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, there's signs all over the district for Mr. Lombardino.
Really?
And then all of a sudden, he's winning the sign war overnight. Snap a
Hmm.
finger. How did that happen?
Now, you've been involved in campaigns and politics for a long time. How does that happen?
I
Those signs are
know.
just, the magical elves make those signs?
It would appear that there was an infusion of support and infusion of money. I don't know.
It takes a lot of money to do the sign wars, folks.
But But most importantly, so last week I went to the school board meeting and you went to the recall Bubadon meeting, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I have it on good authority that guess what?
What's that?
Mark Smith was there.
Oh,
In in
now,
fact, you may have even shook his hand or talked to him.
trying to remember, that would really narrow it down because I didn't shake that many hands. Not because of COVID, just didn't shake that many hands. I was trying to, actually, I was engaged in two conversations primarily that I can't share just yet on the show, but one of them is really interesting, to say the least. So, our good friend Fly on the Wall, there were not, it wasn't a huge crowd, to be honest. So that really narrows it down. Maybe our friend Mark Smith was a fly on the wall across the street, just watching the meeting.
He may have been. Maybe we were watching people watching the meeting.
Maybe
You never
so.
know. But he says he was there. He even talked about you and your name tag.
Yeah, except I wasn't wearing a name tag.
That's an interesting thing. How could you not be
Yeah.
wearing a name tag? But yet he says you were wearing a name tag. He must
Well,
have been across the street.
now, Duke, you know me. Uh, if I go anywhere, how do I normally dress? I don't care what kind of meeting it is.
Well, I mean, I think you could step up from the flip flops a little bit, but that's my personal opinion, you know. But hey, you can roll how you want to roll.
Shorts and flip flops, and in the wintertime, jeans and probably flip flops even then. And it's rare that I put on a name tag. I
I'm starting to
just
think this Mark Smith is like the reincarnation of Deep Throat or something, you know?
something something crazy going on. Okay, so let me scroll through some comments here.
There's the
Yeah,
bait, Mark Smith. Go ahead, chime in.
right. Name tags. Okay, let's see. What is next on our list? Oh, did you know you live right there on Black Bayou
I
Reservoir?
do. In fact, I hear
Yes.
they had a report on one of the mainstream media this afternoon.
Yes. Well, I don't know about the mainstream media, but I can tell you as I'm getting this queued up here that I actually went up there and visited today. Did you know that?
You know, I did you tell me that or did I dream that? Yeah, maybe I did know that. I think maybe you had your drone in tow with you. Was it following you or chasing you or something?
Well, no, I was just making sure to follow it and make sure it didn't crash in the water. Those things are not inexpensive. So let me share this out.
Hey, I hear drones are not effective for using for surveying as well too. They get elevations wrong and could get you in
Uh,
lawsuits.
Now that depends on the drone. There are drones out there made that actually do that. As a matter of fact, this one can within like 1 centimeter accuracy or less. If you didn't know that already.
Well, I can tell you, I think there's lawsuits out there or unsettled or unresolved. Uh,
Well, there are, but that's usually from drone pilots that are using lesser equipment and don't know what they're doing. But I can tell you that they are
Whoa.
used with a fairly high degree of accuracy in some cases. So anyway, all right.
I wasn't going there all the way, but you went there, so okay.
Oh, I'll go there. It doesn't matter to me. All right, folks. Here's our Black Bayou Linton Road Bridge update of the day. Hey, wait, what is that down there? So that would
Well, it
be
looks like a
the
big crane.
yeah, well, yeah. There's a big crane right there, and I'm manual sticking, doing a nice little point of interest deal. So forgive me, folks, if my drone footage is not buttery smooth. It was blasted hot standing out there. But look over here on the, what would that be? Basically the west side of the bridge. What is that semicircle thing that I see out there?
I, well, I know what that is, Rex.
What would that be, Duke?
That is a Salvinia
Oh,
curtain.
it's got to be. Yeah,
That's
that's
a
got to be what it
Salvinia
is.
curtain. That's what it
So
is.
let me get over here. Let me, folks, bear with me for a second. Let me fast forward. There we go. I got in a little closer there. So here,
Again, we got rather than north versus south, we got a west versus east, and
yeah,
Robert Berry is blessing the east with no Salvinia by blocking it and keeping it all in the west.
yeah. Except look down here on the left side of the screen right there. Well, I guess actually kind of on the right side too, but it looks like the trials are. What is wrong with that? Wasn't that one guy from Benton? Wasn't he riding his like jet skis and sea-doos through there?
I think his name was Ken, wasn't it?
I think
Yeah, it was
so.
Ken. Yeah, I think it was Ken. Ken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a jet ski. I could get through there in my bass boat. Not that I'm going to, folks.
Well, you know, Ken, when he gave the middle finger to the sheriff's office, like, I'm going through there regardless or whatever. I mean, that ain't gonna stop him. Illegal or
No,
nothing, he's going through.
jet ski, he can go right over the top of that. But, whatever. Good attempt. At least they're not passing the buck around with the police jury as much as they were.
So I'm still perplexed because Caddo Parish had a bridge that had the exact same span that they finished 2 weeks ago, and yet
Right?
here we are in Bossier, and you see where we're at.
Yeah. Here's progress, folks. And honestly, they were down there working. I didn't want to buzz them too close, because the drone does sound like a herd of horde of angry bees. So I didn't want to buzz them too close and stay away from their crane and all that.
Well, the next thing you know, you would have a police juryman by the name of Rogers. You're shutting down the work down there, and we're going to be late by another month or something.
Yeah, they're going to do something about it and blah, blah, blah. And they're not passing the buck and all that kind of good stuff. So there's your update, folks. There is a boom up there now. For those of you that live on that side of Black Bayou, on that side of the bridge, or like to fish on that side, now there's a boom up.
Yeah, and for everybody on the west side, I just want y'all to know the east side is like glass. There's no waves. There's more fish. It's like that cow in that pen, all that green grass. The other side is so green over here. Y'all just wouldn't believe. I mean, this is amazing.
Something about us fishermen, we always have to try to get over to the side that's the toughest to get to. All right, so that leads us, you mentioned Robert Berry earlier, and that leads us to, did you know that Robert Berry had submitted his resignation to the Cypress Board and
now
to the Bossier Parish
wait a
Police Jury?
Wait a minute. You said had.
Sure.
You said had. I've been getting texts all day long. People asking me, "Did Robert Berry resign? Did Robert Berry resign?" And I'm like, well, he did it one time, but you said had.
Yeah, he had submitted his resignation, as in he didn't do it right this second. It was in the past, so that could have been at the last police jury meeting. They might have done a walking quorum, maybe submitted it, and they emailed each other about it. I don't know.
They don't do no walking quorums. I mean, Gary White stood right up there at the Benton Town Council meeting and said, "We decided, and we this, and we that," but yet they never had no meeting. And then all of a sudden he becomes, what, president?
Yeah,
And they never had a meeting.
right.
Mel Allen became president. They never had a meeting, never a vote, no public comment. Hired a lobbyist, never had a meeting, no public comment.
Right.
All of you watching pay taxes for all of that, and you've got no right to have a say in any of it. It's your tax dollars, but you got no say in the police jury. Rubber stamps all of it. That's right. Philip Rogers, King Cockroach, Doug Rimmer, all of them.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we haven't made fun of Doug in a while. All right, Mr. Key, Mr. Bob Key, we appreciate you watching, and we are going to explain the resignation right now. So we appreciate you joining in. This is a letter on the screen dated, what is that, July the 7th of 2021. This is to Alex Vazella, who is of the Ayers Law Firm, and this is from the Attorney General's office. And I want you to read, if you can, folks. I know it might be small if you're on the phone, but I'll, of course, going to read this out. So this quote that I've got highlighted here in red and yellow says, now this is the Attorney General's office, says, we personally met with Mr. Robert Berry and the Ayers Law Firm on June 30th of 2020, so about a little over a year ago. At that time, we advised Mr. Berry was in violation of the dual office holding law. Mr. Berry fully acknowledged the problem. We've actually shown this letter before. And here we go, admitting that he had tendered his resignation to the police jury years ago. but the police jury would not accept the resignation. Remember we talked about passing the buck?
Oh, Rex, you're just making that up. I mean, he didn't really tell the AG that. No way.
Well, he said it with his lawyer present. I don't think this may fall under perjury or anything like
Wait a
that
minute.
because I don't think they were in a court case. They were just meeting. But
His lawyer, are you talking about the what's the Italian guy? You know, the little
Machota?
short with the nice, yeah, with the nice pinstripe suits. That guy.
No, I think he was standing there with Lee Ayers and them. I think. I could
Well,
be
no,
wrong. Could have been Machota.
That's the Cypress district attorney. No, I'm talking about his attorney.
Well, that's a real
Right.
gray area as to who's who. I mean, Alex Vazella actually signed Ron Machota's name on some of the lawsuit documents on behalf of Machota. I'm not saying she did it illegally. He knew about it, but she was
Wait a minute,
literally
she did.
signing his name.
You're telling me that she signed somebody else's name?
Yeah, Alex Vazella signed
But
Ron Machota's name on some of the court
but
documents.
this is
Sure.
but this is an officer of the court. They don't do things like that.
Well, of course they do. And they get away with it. Okay. He also indicated, now this is important too. So, Senator Mills, if you are still watching, I would like to request, of course, I know this is a live show, but I would like to request that you look into this. I know this is before your time as far as being a legislator, but Robert Berry indicated last year that back when he tried to resign, which was in 2013, folks, he met with lawmakers to have the laws changed, but was not successful. Now, where does that sound familiar about changing laws to let people hold two offices? Isn't there somebody around Bossier Parish that's done that? Wasn't our police jury, didn't they have a law passed? Was it for Bill Altimus? Am I correct about that?
Ooh, yeah. You're taking me down a walk down memory lane.
Barry
Holy
Butler.
crap.
Barry Butler, if you're watching, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Bill Altimus that the police jury had to get a law passed to allow him to be the, what's his title, parish administrator,
Yeah, parish administrator.
and be on the police jury? I think I'm correct there. But Barry, if you're watching, or maybe Mike Colley or somebody, make sure I'm correct. I know I'm on the right track with it. Okay, so anyway, this is a letter from the AG's office stating that last year, during a meeting with Robert Berry and the Ayers Law Firm, Robert Berry said he tried to submit his resignation, and the police jury, years ago, and the police jury would not accept it. And he met with lawmakers to have the laws changed, a la the police jury and the police jury administrator. That was not successful. I want to know if he, in fact, met with any of the lawmakers in that time. Okay. So, here we go. Let's move on to this one right here.
I'm wondering, that wasn't too far after his time of going after Dukesy Scott out in the East 80 Fire District.
Yeah. Around that time period. Okay, thank you, Renee Hall. Renee confirmed, yes, it was Bill Altimus. Ann Price said, yeah, Billy Montgomery for Bill Altimus. Mike Hall, you're correct about Bill Altimus. Thank you, folks. Appreciate y'all clarifying that. Okay, so I'm showing a slide here that is a certification of public records. I had requested some information and requested that it be certified. Okay, which means it was signed by the secretary of the Cypress Board. Look whose signature that is.
Mr. Gary White.
Now, this was a records request last year, and I requested the minutes of a 2013 Cypress meeting. Okay, so that was the certification signature, and this is obviously a highlighted copy of those certified minutes that were sent to me. And notice right here under old business, personnel issue, Robert Berry. I've highlighted in yellow here. Mr. Berry previously submitted his resignation to the board and the police jury on July 3rd of 2013. The board accepted the resignation, but the police jury did not. Now, that's consistent with what Robert told the Attorney General last year. Remember that whole passing the buck thing? There was some police jury member, I think at last week's meeting, that tried to discount or say they didn't pass the buck, but apparently they passed the buck a lot.
The police jury, obviously, we should be able to go back to the July 3rd or 2013 or meeting,
right,
proximal to that date, and find where they decided to not accept it, right?
Yes, we should. And you know what's interesting about that, Duke? I don't have the screenshot here, but you can go on the police jury's website right now. You can go to the meeting minutes, and they have 2013 all the way back to 2013 and earlier. And you can pull up the July the 3rd, 2013 minutes of the police jury meeting, and Robert Berry is nowhere in the minutes. And the police jury keeps relatively detailed summaries of those meetings in the minutes. Robert Berry's name is mentioned nowhere in there.
So are you telling me that either the police jury is not sharing with the public everything and not disclosing everything, or Robert Berry is just not telling the truth?
I'm telling you, somebody's lying. Or somebody didn't keep records like they were supposed to.
Well, I wonder if the police jury, if they in fact have that documentation and they in fact did discuss it, are they going to acknowledge that they maybe didn't do it in an open meeting or have that discussion and debate it for the public to?
Well, guess what? We've sent an information request to Rachel Hauser, who is the secretary at the police jury. She did respond back and acknowledged receiving it. There's a $25 processing fee that I'm going to pay, and we'll pay out of bossierwatch, and we're going to look into this. And either I'll go up there and scan the records or have them just make PDF copies. I've asked for the video or audio from the meeting and any documentation, including emails, text messages, etc., in an official capacity. All right.
Well, it would seem we're going to get an answer one way or the other.
One way or the other, because I also sent a request into the Cypress District as well. Okay, so let me finish right here. New business interim director, that's the second red square right there, yellow highlight. The board has consulted with legal counsel and concurs that Mr. Berry could continue to function on the board and also hold the position of interim executive director with no conflict of interest. And of course, then they made him permanent executive director. Public comment was requested. Mr. Keene asked why Mr. Berry would be in both positions. The response from the board was that positions were due to be rotated. Mr. Berry would no longer be president, and his knowledge and experience would be appropriate for the interim position. And our good friend from Benton, who just got reappointed by the Benton Town Council, motion was made by Gary Weish, seconded by Mr. Warren, to compensate the interim director retroactive to June 3rd of 2013.
Well, isn't that just something interesting? I mean, they acted like they didn't even know up there in the town of Benton a couple of weeks ago as to who Gary Weish was when he showed up there.
Imagine that. Let me also put this up here. So this is a copy of a July 3rd, so we're just backing up a few days here, July the 3rd, 2013 special workshop. This is one of those things that the Cypress District got their hands smacked from the AG's office over all these special workshops that they did to help avoid open meetings laws and requirements. So anyway, take this particular one. President Berry called the special meeting to order at 8:10 a.m. Now, they may have put out a public notice. I'd put money that they probably didn't, because they called it a workshop to get around that, but maybe they did. This was actually, next paragraph, Mr. Berry stated the purpose of this special meeting was to discuss the Longleaf development. That was an ongoing lawsuit at the time. Let's see. A motion was made by Mr. Baker, seconded by Mr. Warren, to accept the resignation of Mr. Berry as president. Not his resignation from the board. He would have had to do that. I guess he'd have to resign as president, then resign as a board member, whatever. But they voted or made a motion to accept the resignation of him as president of the Cypress District. Public comment was requested with none received. I'm willing to bet because nobody was there at 8:10 in the morning. The vote was unanimously carried. They, like always, 99% of the time they vote unanimously. And then a motion was made by Mr. Bigby, seconded by Mr. Warren, appointing Mr. Warren and Mr. Gary Weish to oversee the day-to-day operations of the park. And again, no public comment. So, folks, when I teased out that Robert Berry had mysteriously resigned, he did mysteriously resign, but nothing ever happened to it. And according to Robert Berry and his attorneys, it's because the police jury refused to accept his resignation. Now, what is up with that? I got to give him credit. He tried to avoid the dual office holding. Sort of. I mean, he was resigning as president, not necessarily from the board, but still, he was, appears to me, I'll give a little credit where it's due, he was trying to avoid that, and the police jury passed the buck again.
Passing the buck. So it's the police jury's fault with the debacle, and anything that becomes of the Cypress Black Bayou District and all of the money, if they default on the debt, it's the police jury's fault, right? Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah.
Philip Rogers, paging Philip Rogers.
Yeah. Philip, we know you watch the show at least every now and then. What's up with this? Dig into it. This is 2013. What happened to this resignation letter?
Nothing you can do, but now you got HB 630. Well, can't use that no more, right?
Here we go. Oh, and I also want to share, I did get, Heath Harvey, if you're watching, and David Hall, thanks for going to the meeting. There was a Cypress District meeting today, folks. They gave notice yesterday. I wasn't able to get there because Duke and I had some prior commitments late this afternoon. But apparently, they had one of the shortest meetings ever to go over the financial audit for 2020. And they had Travis Moorhart there. And apparently, they didn't let him, he answered one question and they shut him up from answering questions. They yanked his leash hard. Imagine that.
Yanked his leash hard?
I'm sure they have it, yeah.
They don't yank people that are one of their own leash.
They didn't try this because
you have to be somebody from the public for them to yank your leash out.
Well, apparently they're doing it to the CPA/auditor now because he did answer questions at a meeting and spilled the beans, and we've made it very, very public, and I guess they don't like that. So no more questions for the CPA and auditor. No questions.
Questions are not allowed. So
yeah, I'm like, I'm done.
I got my mask. We've seen the black helicopters. They exist. The zombie apocalypse is coming. Bossier City's prepared. The council approved them buying all these upfitted, even for the fire department, personnel carriers.
Right.
Proof's in the pudding. It's out there.
It's out there.
As the horn guy stood in the house, the shaman, Q shaman, it's out there.
It's out there. And folks, Robert Berry did resign. It's just in 2013, and they kicked the resignation back. What is up with that? All right. So I'd like to say thanks to everybody that's watching. We're at an hour and 12 minutes, and we're still like 62, 64 people. We were up to 90 earlier in some of that discussion. Lots of comments going on. We appreciate all that. Mr. Bob Key does say, did Mr. Weish, Mr. Bigby, and Mr. Warren indicate where the retroactive payments would come from? Do each of them live on the lakefront? Honest, Mr. Bob, I'm not 100% positive of that. Duke, you're verifying that you think they do? Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to another subject, I wanted to point out something that we haven't mentioned, and you and I have been talking about it. We've got some races coming up in Bossier Parish, and as well as Bossier City. And you and I have discussed it, and we're going to attempt, if the candidates will work with us, we're going to seek to put on a debate for the city council race.
Yep.
And we're going to try to get some interviews with the police jury candidates, maybe even the judge candidates in that judge's race. But we're going to try to have, I guess you could say, like forums like we did in the Bessie race.
Yeah, that Bessie one we did was a great idea. The Bessie debate that we did was very popular. That video got a lot of views and a lot of traction. And I think we did a pretty good job with it technically. And of course, question-wise, you did a great job of moderating it. So yeah, folks, we're going to plan on having a debate with some of these candidates in some of these races, or multiple debates, and get those publicized as well.
Yeah, so I would say that a lot of our folks viewing start ginning up your questions for your city council candidates down there in Sobo, District 5, I think, and for maybe even the judicial race, and
Mhm.
for the police jury seat vacated by Bump Skaggs. Start sending us questions. We're going to start building a list, and we're going to do a live show with all of these folks, and we're going to plug your questions in there.
Yeah, and speaking of sending us stuff, the easy way to do that is, especially if you want it to be completely anonymous, folks, go make your free protonmail.com account. Don't put any identifying information in it. You've heard us say this every show practically. After you do that, send an email to bossierwatch@protonmail.com with your information. Again, don't put any identifying stuff in there. If you want it to be anonymous, we will take a look at it. Even if you have questions for the debate, send them to the bossierwatch@protonmail, or you can use bossierwatch@gmail.com. If you're interested in helping sponsor the debate, then reach out to us via email. We'll be putting up some more information and all that sort of thing as well, because it does cost a little extra money to do that sort of thing. Let's see. And folks, I've checked the audio once or twice. Can y'all, somebody comment, Michael Ferris or somebody, and make sure that our audio sounds good? I got a text message said low audio, but I think that is on the person listening's fault. I'm not going to mention any names, Robert H. Wright. So anyway, let us make sure that the audio's good.
Well, as long as we know,
gotta pick on the radio host, Robert H. Wright.
Maybe he's. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to bite my tongue and say thank you, everybody watching, like and share.
All right, yeah, thanks, Matt, for letting us know our audio's good. We're out of here, folks. Tune in every Tuesday, and we try to also do Thursdays. We may end up doing some more. We're out of here.
Good night.
Good night.